We live in an era of globalization and fluid national borders and global marketing strategies that appeal to different cultural and ethnic identities has become a vital part of the corporate strategies. In this video, we are going to discuss about cultural differences among people, its impact on marketing of goods and services, and also about Hofstede's model on cultural differences. When we think of some countries' people, what comes to our mind is the stereotyping of them with a particular behavior or thing or preferences, etc. For example, when we think of India, what comes to our mind is tradition, two-handed vanakam or namaste, etc. Similarly, when we think of other countries, what comes to our mind? Dutch, orange, US, big, hamburger, France, perfume, patisserie, Japan, bowing, greeting, loyalty, Germany, hardworking, humorless. These stereotyping are because of some sort of trend which were followed by some people of these countries, and this had become in the long run as cultural symbols. If you notice these cultural symbols, every country has their own and is different from the other. It is imperative that cultural differences exist among people of different countries. Food is one of the important determinants of any country's cultural orientation. Take, for example, in India, cooking at home and eating at home was the norm of each household, and going to a restaurant and eating out was just occasional. But Western branded foods like McDonald's, KFC's, Subways, etc. established themselves and are so successful that it has made eating out a regular habit among the population. How is that possible? Is it because of the fact that these brands had in it the taste expected by every person? Or is it the overall value which these brands offered? No, it was not only because of the brands, but it was driven by an affinity towards westernization by the people of the country. It's the cultural trait of the people of the country. These brands were successful in establishing their business in many countries. But even these brands have the history of failing in some other markets. If you analyze the reasons for failure, it would be the lack of understanding of cultural differences among the people of different countries. The brands shown here are some of the brands which failed in different countries because of the only reason that the companies didn't understand the cultural aspect of doing business. Whether it's hurting religious sentiments or mere awkward translations, these brands failed miserably. Australians wanted to drink coffee the exact coffee way, with the taste of coffee, in a setup where they can meet and share over a cup of coffee. But the Americans drank coffee as a product with lot of variety where the taste of coffee became secondary. Starbucks didn't understand exactly the preference of Australians towards coffee and lost the market. It is important to understand how cultural differences across and within countries affect the way in which business is done. The difference would be expressed by the people through lifestyles, diet, clothing, etc., and their local preferences, attitude towards the brands, consumer behavior, buying decisions, business negotiations, etc. These factors are instrumental in the success or failure of a product in the country. To understand the cultural differences among different countries, we can look up to the Hofstede's model of national cultures. Hofstede carried out a research among 1 lakh employees of IBM working around the world and tried to categorize cultures of different nationalities. According to his study, the attributes which distinguishes one culture from the other are individualism versus collectivism, power distance, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long term orientation, indulgence versus restraint. Individualism versus collectivism. Some societies value the performance of individuals as most important, and for others, it's the team's performance which is more important. People in the individualistic society recognize bonus incentives as rewards for their performance, whereas people in collective society view profit sharing as a better reward. Power distance. This category considers whether the people in the society has a very high sense of position and status, the extent to which inequality is tolerated. A high PD score indicates that the people in that society accept and encourage bureaucracy and a high respect for authority and rank. A lower PD score indicates that personal responsibility and autonomy are given higher priority. Masculinity versus femininity. This category considers the differences in decision making style of the people. Decision making in masculine style is hard edged, fact based, and aggressive, whereas feminine decision making involves higher degree of consultation and intuitive analysis. Uncertainty avoidance. The risk taking ability of the people of a society is considered in this category. Low level of uncertainty avoidance indicates willingness to take risk, think out of the box, work outside the rules, and people have an entrepreneurial culture. High level of uncertainty avoidance indicates conformance to the rules and expects clear roles and responsibilities to be laid out. Long-term orientation. This category explains how people in different societies are oriented towards achievement of their dream or goal or objective. Societies which are long-term oriented consider long-term benefits, whereas some societies emphasize short-term benefits like rewards, incentives, etc. Indulgence versus restraint. Indulgent society allow free gratification of basic and natural human drives related to enjoying life and having fun, whereas restrained society suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it with strict social norms. The table shows the Hofstede's model indicators for different countries. China and India rank high in power distance, which says they are power hungry. China, South Korea, and Singapore are collectivist, whereas UK, USA, and Australia are individualistic cultures. As far as masculinity, femininity category, most of the countries are masculine. Singaporeans show very low uncertainty avoidance trait, whereas South Koreans show high uncertainty avoidance. South Korean and Chinese are long-term oriented, whereas Americans and Australians are short-term oriented. Australians try to indulge in new experiences, whereas Indians show restraint towards experiencing new things. Companies could use Hofstede's model indicators to understand the differences in the risk-taking ability, the benefits orientation, etc., of the people of different countries, and to decide on its product decisions, the strategies for marketing, finance, and human resources, and thereby optimize their business. Hope you've got a better idea about cultural differences and Hofstede model of cultural differences. Thank you for watching.